Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ilona, and if you're new here, I love to talk about movies, TV shows, and books. So today I'm going to be talking about my February TBR, and I'm excited to tell you what I'm going to be reading. So since it's February, I always like to participate in Blackathon, which is a readathon that was created by Jesse over on Bow Ties and Books. I will be linking their announcement video down below to get the full details on it, because there's a lot of ways that you can participate, which is very exciting. So the way that I will be participating is that I think it's I guess it's part of like the YouTube challenge. There's like different challenges across like various social media platforms. So I'll be participating on the YouTube challenge part and joining Team Sci-Fi Fantasy, which is going to be co-hosted by my love, Starla from Starla Enjoys. So I'm so excited to do that. And I'll go over the prompts that are part of that challenge, and then I will tell you a bit about the book that I chose to read for that prompt. So the first prompt is a book that explores the duality of loyalty and betrayal. So the book that I'll be reading for that prompt is The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke. So I'm very excited about this. This is a new to me author, and this also, I believe, is part of a trilogy. So if I really like this book, there are 2 other books to look forward to, which is always awesome. So this book follows 2 main characters. We have Terrain, who is a soldier whose homeland has been colonized by this larger empire. And then they also have Princess Luca, who is a princess who is trying to find a turncoat who is going to be able to help her overthrow her uncle, who is currently on the throne. And we're gonna see kind of how they get entangled with their kind of like shared goal, but also I'm guessing probably opposing or conflicting goals as well. So I heard it was very like a very political fantasy, which, you know, honestly, and on top of that, it's also queer. So, you know, political fantasy, queer, sign me up. I don't need to know much more than that. So I'm very excited to read this book for February. I do apologize. I also forgot to mention that this book is an adult epic high fantasy. So for the next prompt, which is a book that has trans spec representation in it, I will be reading. We have Pet by Akwaeke Emezi. So this is a young adult urban fantasy novel, and so for context, I did try to read this book like a long time ago, but I didn't end up finishing it. I was like just not in like the best headspace and wasn't really in much of a reading mood, so I didn't really pick it up afterwards, but I'm excited to try this again. I don't really remember, I didn't get that far in it, so I don't remember much anyways, but I'm excited to go into it and try again, which I'm very excited for. Akwaeke Emezi is also a new to me author as well. And this story, we are following Jam, who is a trans girl, and she lives in a town in which, you know, at this point everyone has said that all of the monsters have been eradicated, so it sounds pretty like utopian and everyone should be doing fine and are supposed to be happy. However, she ends up meeting Pet, who is a creature that comes out of a painting that her mother paints. And it also comes out, I think she like stabs her finger or something and a drop of blood comes out. So that with the painting, Pet comes out. And then Pet says that they are trying to, so, you know, despite the fact that apparently monsters are gone, Pet says there are still monsters and they're looking to hunt them. We also have another storyline in which her best friend Redemption, something's kind of dark going around their house. They're not really quite sure what it is. So this novel follows Pet and Jam as they try to figure out the mystery that's surrounding their town, and Jam is also trying to look for a way to save her best friend Redemption. So I'm, again, very excited. Like, this is, it's pretty interesting to see, like, a young adult. I do believe this is Akwaeke Emezi's, like, first young adult novel, which is very cool. It's not super long either. I love the cover here. It's very, it's gorgeous. It's very much, like, I actually almost kind of match the book, you know, all the shades of purple, so that's pretty fun too. But I really like the concept of it, and I do remember enjoying it. Again, like, I just wasn't like in the best mood like the first time I was reading it, so I'm very excited to finish the story. And also there's going to be a prequel that's coming out, which is called Bitter, and I believe that's going to be following Jam's mother, so we kind of get a little bit more backstory about like Jam's mother's, I'm guessing, like art and kind of like why it has these like magical properties. So very excited for that. that. Another interesting thing too about Pet is that a lot of it really centers around like a young child who realizes that something is wrong, but like the adults around her like are trying to deny the reality of the situation. So I feel like even though like this book was written in like, let's see here. Okay, so it was first published, I believe, in like 2019. So like, I mean, you know, yeah, it's been a few years, but like, I feel like that theme is absolutely still very prevalent with the amount of growing frustration that a lot of younger generations are having towards older generations for not taking serious issues that, you know, we can see are happening, but really are not being taken as seriously as they should be. So I do think this is a very intriguing concept, but also incredibly timely as well. And hopefully we'll get to see a good ending come out of it. So for the last prompt that I'll be doing for Team Sci-Fi Fantasy is that the last one, it says to read a book with a page count between 312 and 387 pages. So for that prompt, I'll be reading An Unkindness of Ghosts by River Solomon, which is an adult sci-fi fantasy novel. Or maybe just sci-fi novel, I apologize. But yeah, this was... That's fine. Okay. So with that, this is actually, so I believe this is actually River Solomon's debut novel, which is interesting because I actually did read another book by River Solomon for last year's Blackathon, which was The Deep. I really loved it. The book is such an interesting concept. It's a really unique take on mermaids, which I really enjoyed. I actually highly recommend reading it if you are participating. Funnily enough, it was inspired by a song that was made by this band called Clipping, which actually stars David Diggs. So this book is about a character named Aster. So she lives on this ship called the HSS Matilda, and this ship is basically holding like the last remnants of humanity as they go to find this mythical promised land. And unfortunately, however, on this ship, it very much has turned into this, it's very reminiscent of the antebellum South. So we have this caste system going on, and she's basically, you know, trying to look for a way to escape her situation. However, when the sovereign of the HSS Matilda dies mysteriously, and then she finds that there's a connection between that and the suicide of her mother about a quarter of a century ago, she decides to try to figure out that mystery and then also try to see if find out a way to get off the ship once and for all. So I'm very excited to read this. I loved, like I said, I really enjoyed the last book that I read from River Solomon. Their writing was able to get to me, and I felt so emotionally invested. So I have no doubt that this book is going to do the same thing when I read it. So I'm very glad to continue reading an author that I really enjoyed their work from. And also too, I think it's a bit of a jarring concept actually to have this set up, because I feel like a lot of stories like TV and TV movies and like in written stories, I've seen most of like when you have like this concept of like people going on this spaceship to like discover, you know, a new world or new planets or whatever. I feel like a lot of the stories are painted as being pretty like idyllic, you know, racism, classism, a lot of those things don't really exist anymore in these places. And if there's any sort of like prejudice, it's usually with like other species that they meet on these journeys. So, you know, I think this is like a jarring and realistic take on, to be honest, like how humanity, I feel like, would act if this was a situation that did happen. I do think like the concept of it is really not as much of a stretch as it sounds. So I'm very curious to like see how this is going to play out, and I really hope the best for Aster and their journey on this. So for the last book that the actual like last book, but this is like the group book. So we're going to be reading Escaping Exodus by Nikki Drayden, which is an adult sci-fi novel. The novel follows this character named Seska Kaylee. So she's basically the heir to this like city that lives, basically like what it sounds like is that it's a city that inhabits these like almost dead like space animals, and then like basically they, you know, take all the, you know, use the resources of this dying animal to sustain the city, and then eventually once, you know, they can't use any more resources, they transfer over or have I believe they have an exodus, and they move on to the next space animal that they can find. And basically like the plot of the story is that when they try to do that, it doesn't go very well. essentially. So this is also a new to me author. I'm, very intrigued by like the concept of it. I really don't know much else about it, and I'm good with not knowing too much more. I'm very excited to see how this book is going to surprise me, and I'm excited to read it. Those are the prompt books, and then now I'm just going to go into other books that I plan on reading. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Witches Steeped in Gold by Hannah Smart, which is a YA fantasy novel. And this is a buddy read that I'm going to be doing with Starla. We just do a buddy read together every month, and I'm very excited for this one. So this is actually Jamaican inspired, and it's about basically these two girls who have a common enemy. So one of the girls is a prisoner, and the other one is the daughter of I think the reigning queen. So we have like witches and all this magic stuff, but basically I think the two girls are going to try to team up and take down the princess's mother. And supposedly it has like this like cat and mouse game aspect. Like I saw in the description, I was looking into it, they're like, it's kind of like Killing Eve-esque, which like I love Killing Eve. However, this is also a YA novel, so I don't know how much they can get into that part, but I really hope they do. I genuinely hope it leads into that. I'm very excited. I don't know like too much more about outside of it, and I don't really want to. Again, this is something I really do want to be surprised by while I'm reading it, and like this cover is just like, it's beautiful, the sprayed edges, like everything, it's definitely, this is gorgeous. So again, this is also a new to me author, which I'm actually really happy. Like a lot of these, like pretty much all the books that most of the books that I've talked about so far are all like new to me authors. So I'm very excited to be introduced to them. So each month I also really love reading at least like one nonfiction novel. Nonfiction is like a genre that I do really enjoy, and I like to, I like reading things that I feel are pretty informative. So I don't have a physical copy of this. I will be borrowing the audiobook from my library, but I'm going to be reading Cast by Isabel Wilkerson, which is a book that like was very, very like pretty much I think became like a pretty quick, if not instant bestseller when it first came out. Oprah's book club, like the whole 9 yards. And the book is essentially about like, from what I understand, like exploring like the different, it's not just like systems of like racism, but it goes into, how caste systems are heavily related to it and are honestly in many ways like more persistent than, most other forms of discrimination, I think. And I'm very excited to, learn and read a bit more about it. And something that I have also decided to do this year, so in the past I would usually just like read nonfiction books and like that would be it. But one of the nonfiction books that I read in January, which is The New Jim Crow, the foreword of it is like amazing. It's a very, very, very informative, but like one of the things that really stuck with me is that the author at the end of that forward was mentioning like, I'm writing this book for specific audiences, and one of the reasons why she's like, one of the people that I'm targeting with this book is for people who want to educate themselves and be able to use the book as a way to give data and give arguments that are well thought out and intelligent. And that really stuck with me because I realized that like a lot, while I do enjoy reading these nonfiction books, I don't always like retain a whole lot of information from it, like not enough to the point where I feel like if I'm having a discussion with someone, I can readily like quote concepts from it or talk about it in super in depth. And I really want to do better with that this year. So I decided to get like just this like notebook. And I actually started doing it already, so I did it for I actually read 2 nonfiction books in January, which I'll go over in my wrap-up, but I took notes in here about, like, concepts, things that I want to remember and reference in case I want to, like, talk about these books or talk about the concepts that I read in these books in the future, so I'm very excited to do that with Cast as well, and just continue that throughout the rest of the year, because I really, again, just want to do a better job of retaining information from these really informative books. I'm also like a very strong mood reader as well, so I definitely left some room for some mood reads, even though I was basically doing a lot of prompts. I feel like on average I tend to do like 4 to 5 books a month, but like Blackathon has always been like in February in general, despite it being the I can speak. Shortest month has always been like my best reading month, so I'm pretty ambitious about it. I'm like, look, I feel like I actually read like 8 books, which was like pretty much double what I usually read last year, and so this year I'm very excited to again like at least read about 8 books and maybe like go over that. So I'm very excited to dive into all of these books and enjoy them and really experience like these different authors, especially again, most of them are new to me, so that's very exciting. Thank you so much for joining me on my first bookish video. I had a lot of fun making this, and because I read like so much like on my own, I really wanted to incorporate that into my channel as well and just talk about all these great books that I get to read and also, recommend some hopefully because I really do enjoy like discovering different stories and different authors. So thank you so much for being here and for watching. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more content from me, you can hit that subscribe button. And I hope you're having an awesome day today, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!